Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Thompson, and I appreciate y'all joining today for this webinar brought to you by the CDC Emory Employee Association of Emory Alumni. My name is Daniel Thompson, and I am joined by my colleague, Andrew Rainey. We are the co-chairs of the Professional Development Committee for the CDC EAEA. So for those of you on the call who are Emory alums, and don't know about the CDC EAEA, please reach out to myself or to Andrew. We'll be happy to make sure you are connected to our listserv and our announcements. So today we have Baily Betik today to facilitate the third webinar that we have brought you in the last 6 or 8 weeks. This one is entitled Interactive Zoom Strategies. I'm sure we are all looking forward to ways to make our webinars a little bit more interactive and our meetings interactive. But we're very excited to have Baily here for the third webinar that she has facilitated. She comes to us from the Emory Center for Digital Scholarship. She's been at Emory for a while, but she is a digital publication specialist with expertise in publishing and pedagogy. She has her PhD in English from Emory and a master's in science and from the University of Edinburgh, and also a BA from Texas Christian University. She consults with students and faculty who want to mount public-facing digital materials and projects, and works with stakeholders to design, build, and maintain websites for open access publications. So we are very excited to have Baily. One other thing that I want to mention for those of you who are interested in gaining more skills to polish your science writing for public health communication, we are hosting another webinar on May the 2nd. It'll be another 12 to 1 webinar, and we will publish that registration after the meeting. But just wanted to put that on your calendar. It's going to be facilitated by a couple of Rollins School of Public Health faculty who have expertise in this area. And so we are looking forward to hosting that for you on May the 2nd at noon. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Baily, and thank you all again so much for being with us today. Baily?
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Glad to be back again on this rainy Atlanta morning, or I guess afternoon, because it is technically now afternoon. But as Daniel mentioned, I come to you from the Emory Center for Digital Scholarship. We have a physical office in what we call the Fishbowl on the 3rd floor of the Woodruff Library, if you ever want to come see us in person. But we also do digital consultations as well. Work on everything from documentaries to websites and archives, as well as podcasts, and helping professors, integrate things into, or honestly, not just professors, anyone in the Emory enterprise, just incorporate digital humanities and learning methods into their work. And so very happy to consult with you on any of that if you have questions about it later. But for today, we're going to talk about interactive Zoom strategies. So I am going to start us off with the wonderful strategy of just sharing my screen, but I also will let you know that I am going to call on all of you to hopefully have participation in this. It's not really a webinar, but the Zoom meeting. Please, even if you think you're, contributing not the best answer or whatever, I'm going to lead us through some practices that there are no dumb answers, no bad answers. It's just for fun, just for practice to get a hang of it and see how you might be able to use that strategy in your day-to-day. So I'll go ahead and share screen right here. All right, so my screen share is here. This is my information. I will put it up at the end as well, so you can see that. If I could ask Daniel and Karen to monitor the chat and just let me know if anything comes up, or if you want to raise your hand in the chat, that would be helpful. We will have time for questions and answers at the end. But yeah, here we go. Interactive Zoom strategies. So today, as just like an overview and objective, I want you to, as an objective, I want you to leave this webinar feeling confident or like you've learned something new in how to use these different features that we'll go over on Zoom, so that you can hopefully apply it to your everyday life. So we'll get started and first just do like an overview of thinking through how to have a successful Zoom meeting. There are some general considerations. How to use chat and polling as different tools and different ways you could use them, how to use annotation and whiteboards, and then how to use breakout rooms and external tools. I'm not going to put you into breakout rooms, so don't worry. And also for the polling section, since I didn't set up this Zoom, I unfortunately can't go in and show you, but I will show you an example of the polling. I do have that previewed, but we won't actually get to live poll like I thought we would. So, yeah, and then we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. But you can always drop them in the chat and then we'll get to them once we have that opportunity. So getting started, first, before we even start thinking about Zoom, I want to tell you to consider UDL best practices. So UDL is an educational approach called Universal Design for Learning, in which the goal is to optimize learning for all students. Obviously, this sounds, one, very teachery. So I want to make sure we translate that here. Whenever you're hosting a Zoom meeting or facilitating something, you really are learning with people. You are working together to produce knowledge. So this isn't just like an educational framework. It's something that I want you to consider whenever you're giving a presentation or facilitating an activity. All of these are done for the construction of knowledge and comparison of knowledge. So throw the whole student-teacher thing out the window and just think about how you can optimize learning for all participants in your meeting. When we talk about optimizing learning, that sounds like a, well, of course, sort of factor. So the second point I want to make is that UDL thinks about sort of proactive approaches to creating that optimization. So for instance, maybe we have a 20-story building, right? This comes from an architectural sort of framework that's been applied to educational design. So consider that we have a 20-story building, right? Everyone goes up, it's great. We have a ramp, we have a lot of stairs, and it's kind of a pain to go up all the way, but we do have a ramp. So if there is someone who has a wheelchair, they can roll up to the front of the building. However, we might not have an elevator, right? That might be something that, oh, dang, we didn't think about that. Or maybe we didn't think about having a ramp, or maybe we didn't think about having guardrails on the side of the stairs. So that sort of proactive approach of saying, okay, how might someone use this building? How might someone use the materials you're presenting in a meeting? And you want to make sure you're accounting for all ability levels, all knowledge levels, making sure everyone has the resources available, right? Not assuming that everyone has read that memo or can remember it all off the top of their head. So providing copies and things like that is a way that we can sort of transfer that UDL architectural approach to designing it for learning or for meetings, right? And UDL's key components of optimizing that learning are to consider multiple means of representation, engagement, and expression. So this is really just giving folks opportunities and options beyond just one thing, right? Beyond just sitting and watching a Zoom screen, giving them opportunities to engage, to create or contribute their knowledge or express their knowledge in many different ways. So in terms of what we do in Zoom best practices for applying that universal design for learning, you may have noticed I've enabled captions in a transcript. This is because some people, might have English as another language or might have difficulty hearing or processing, or my accent, right, might be a little too Texan for some people to understand. So enabling captions is always very helpful for people to be able to follow along in written form instead of just relying on the auditory. So that's, again, creating another mean of representation and expression. If you're doing something like one of these fun integrative tools and interactive tools that I'm going to talk about, you will need to provide written and demonstrated instructions. Most of us have been on Zoom a couple of times now, but some of these features might be unfamiliar, or you might never have annotated before or used a whiteboard or gone into a breakout room, right? So making sure that you really give written and demonstrated instructions instead of just, I'm going to do this now and explain it like verbally. Writing it on your slides in your presentation on Zoom will be really helpful for folks who, again, might need that written instruction or might need to refer back to the steps as demonstrated by you, so that they can achieve what you would like them to achieve. Give notice, of course, if people are being recorded. I think it now shows at the top of the screen. This gives folks an opportunity to turn off their, obviously mute themselves, as well as turn off their video if they're uncomfortable, or obviously leave the room if it's being recorded. Offer alternatives. So for instance, there are a couple of times, and I'll give some examples later on, when we might use Google Sheets or Google Slides or Canva. Some people might not have access to these accounts or might not have access to these softwares. For instance, once when I was teaching during the pandemic, a lot of my students were based in China. And so Google Docs, sometimes they had workarounds and sometimes they didn't. So making sure that if you are using some sort of software like that or something that's integrated, that you're giving alternatives. If people can't figure out how to annotate, then you're letting them type something in the chat, or you're letting them, give their thoughts at the end of the meeting in a question and answer. And of course, consider your audience. We have all been in calls where people have asked us to do things and we don't want to turn on our video, right? Or we maybe are, maybe we're taking the call from the car, or maybe we're taking it from our phone, or maybe our Wi-Fi is on the fritz, and so we're using a hotspot, or we're at a coffee shop or something. So consider your audience. In meetings that may be a little more formal or informal, you can sort of, read the room in that way, but also make sure that if you're having folks do different reactions or annotations, that if they're zooming in from their phone or if they're zooming in from a laptop, right? Considering when people might be able to read the screen on a smaller like phone screen, or when they might be able to enlarge it themselves on their actual laptop. So just considering those, as well as considering connection, right? If there are a lot of people on a Zoom call and you want them to video share something, then that might not be very feasible if they are on just a data connection instead of a stable internet connection. So just again, considering your audience, considering their comfort level with being on camera or with doing some of these things. I think if you came to my last presentation for the CDC EAEA, you saw this, but this is taken from a Harvard University study out of the Derek Bach Center. They work on integrated and interactive learning, so thinking together, collaborative learning in the sciences. This is taken from an article and made into an infographic. This, of course, pertains to teaching, but also I think applies to Zoom meetings and, just sort of interactivity in facilitating good group interactions. I think it always starts with advanced organizing. As the presenter, I did a lot of work organizing these different activities and the slides. Rather than just going in without an agenda. I think advanced organizing always makes a more successful Zoom meeting, as well as planning for breaks. Right now, we're at this 10 to 12 minute lecture point. We're going to do some activities in a second, but alternating between them and breaking up the learning with a variety of different things instead of just going full out for 2 hours about one thing with one person talking, giving folks then the summary period giving folks time to reflect at the end or ask questions or reflect on different takeaways with others. So or share out if they've had some group activities where they might have been working on something and then want to get feedback from the group. So as you can see, the key thing I want you to take away from this is that it's good to vary things. It's good to give folks some checkpoints to talk back or to vote on something or to work on something in a smaller group instead of just being stuck on Zoom watching, some random lady talk just as a talking head. So this hopefully I think is really helpful for me when I'm organizing any sort of Zoom meeting to be like, okay, I need to take a break. This is where I should integrate a break, or this is where I should switch to something different or a different mode of learning or creation. So just a helpful infographic, and I'll of course give you these slides at the end. In general now, we're going to go right into it for our chat and polling section. So how to use chat. I think a lot of you know how to use chat, but just in general, it is always important to give instructions in case someone maybe hasn't. That's okay. You will, of course, click the chat button on the toolbar. You'll type in your message and press enter to send your message. Some ideas of how you could use chat to enliven your discussion. Of course, question and answers. Asking a question and having folks give emojis as their opinions. Doing a temperature check, so asking folks a scale of 1 to 10, what they might, how confident they might feel. I think I asked y'all this in the second installment of this series of how confident do you feel using Canva, right? Scale of 1 to 10, or how comfortable do you feel creating really effective PowerPoints, scale of 1 to 10, because then you can do that at the end as well. You can always use it as a quick icebreaker in a Zoom meeting of just sort of like give me a 3-sentence summary of your day, or 2 or 3-word summary of your day. Oh my gosh. Or like, how are you feeling right now? And give emojis. For you to have folks reflect takeaways or any feedback at the end, or a chat waterfall, which is where you just sort of type in the chat as many ideas as you can, or as many answers as you can, just to sort of get a gauge of where folks are at for the participant to just quickly scan and say, okay, well, I've seen this word or this topic popping up a lot, so maybe we should start by talking about that. Can be a really helpful way to use that. So we are about to do our first interactive portion of this using the chat. We have 2 chat activities. So get ready. If you need to learn how to use the chat, it is up here, right? Click the chat button and then type in your message, but I think you know how to do that. Here we go. So first, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is an example of a temperature check. How confident do you feel in your ability to use all of the Zoom features listed today? And as a reminder, those Zoom features were chat, polling, annotation, whiteboards, breakout rooms, and external tools. If you just drop that in the chat, I see several answers. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, I'm seeing everywhere from 3 to 8, I think, is where we're mostly landing. A lot of folks in like the 6, 7 category, so that's great. I know some of these might be a little unfamiliar. You're like, what external tools are we going to talk about? I don't know. But this is a way for us to really quickly get this temperature check, see where everyone is at, right? If a lot of folks were answering 1s and 2s, then maybe I would spend more time on certain areas. If a lot of folks were spending, if they all said 10, right, then I would, probably give us more time for question and answers, or give more time in this presentation to some of the things that I think are a little less known. So I can see we're pretty much at like a 5 to 7 ratio. So I'll still spend some time on things. Obviously the sort of average planned amount that I had planned to do that. So it can help you as a presenter or as a meeting facilitator to figure out where these people are at, where they're feeling, right? Like you can say, okay, scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel in reading over that memo that I sent you last week? Or, where do you want to start out of these options? Talking about, these statistics that we just got in, right? Like where that can sort of give you a temperature check of where to guide your meeting or guide your discussion. All right, here's one that is a little less commonly used, waterfall. This is used, I'll click in a second. This is used for, I've seen it used at the end of classes where maybe, if there are any outstanding questions as sort of like an exit ticket, right? Leave the meeting or leave the lesson or leave the class or the seminar with any outstanding questions. So then the facilitator can gather them and then shape the next agenda or the next lesson, spending time on that. So what we're going to do, this is just an example. It's a silly example. I have a lot of silly questions for you today, but I'm going to give you 1 minute to name as many colors as you can think of in the chat and just rapid fire go as many as you can. So you can just see where folks are thinking. This is just a helpful way for folks to stay engaged, keep thinking. Yes, we've got mauve, amazing, peach, magenta. See, it will help sort of generate brainstorming. You can do this as a really quick thing. You can also do it as that exit ticket of saying, whatever questions you have, type them at the end. And so then when when the students or the participants leave the meeting, then you can go through it as the facilitator, review the chat, and then tailor your next meeting based off of that. You can also do this at the beginning of a meeting to similarly get an idea of what folks want to talk about, right? If I said, what do you want to talk about in today's session? And several of you said annotation, right? If I just kept saying annotation, 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 then I would know to spend more time on that. So thank you. Waterfall, we're going to stop the waterfall. We're going to dry it up. We're all good. But that was a perfect example of just that sort of rapid fire engagement. It can also just be a nice energizer, right? Like whenever you change the pace of something, instead of just sitting on a Zoom meeting and watching someone with your coffee, if you say, okay, you have 1 minute, go, it can sort of, get a little pep in people's steps if you just do some quick little brainstorms or question asks like that. We're going to move on to polling. This is where I will probably show you another screen in a second, but polling is really helpful and it has evolved so much since I first started using Zoom. So polling now has the options to, it used to just have a single choice where you'd be like, okay, do you like Valentine's Day or Easter? And you would have to click one or the other. Now it's really given you a lot of different options in a way that I didn't even know until, a couple months ago that they had done this update. So now we have options to do a single choice, a multiple choice, matching, rank order, short answers, long answers, and fill in the blank, as well as a rating scale. So I'll show you a couple of examples of these. I'm not going to go into all of them because I think it's best done when I do have that polling feature up. But you can go in and you can pre-create a poll, or you can do it spur of the moment. So while you're already in a meeting, you can create a poll if you want to. And you can also, in your Zoom settings through the web portal, sort of deputize polling to someone else. You can say, add participants to create polls. So that's a helpful way to maybe assign someone as co-host or give them the polling access so that if you are leading the discussion, maybe you have a second in command who is sort of the temperature check person who might help with polling. Some other useful features that they now have, you can use images that I have not ever used that, but you could, I suppose, where you could say, do you prefer this design or this design? Or do you prefer this layout for the statistics or this layout, right? You could do that. But what I find useful is that polling can be anonymous or it can show your name depending on the settings that you put on the web portal. I can show you that in a second. But they can also be required. As you can see right here, you can toggle that on or off to make it required so everyone has to answer the poll before we can get results. You can create breakout rooms based off of results. So if I said, do you like Valentine's Day or Easter? And then 7 people clicked Valentine's Day, 7 people clicked Easter. The Valentine's Day people would be automatically put in a breakout room. Same for the Easter people, right? So this is a new feature that I think is really, really helpful if you're having people say, well, would you rather discuss this topic or this topic, and giving people, sort of options if you want to. Some polling tips, some things, again, make questions required. You can create breakout rooms based off of votes or choices, and you can add photos or images to polls. This is for the, this is just an example. This is an example of a poll, right? And it has those things there, as well as the image icon, and you can add different choices, take them away, edit them. But also here, this is the fill in the blank one, which is new, but you can add multiple blanks, right? So you could say today is a blank day and have people fill it in. They could say rainy, great, whatever, and we would get all of those results aggregated. You could also have multiple blanks, and you would just do that by typing in the bracket blank space, the second, or if you had 3, the third, right? 1, 2, 3, whatever number of blank it is, and then close bracket, and then just continue typing in whatever your question was. So let me show you, I do have some polls, but again, since I can't show you, I'm just going to show you a preview of what those would look like. But getting to polls, you would click the polls/quizzes button on the toolbar. It's probably not showing up for you today because you're not hosting, but also you can create a new poll, or you can pre-make one. So you can do it before your meeting. You can launch and allow anonymous votes, and then you can share the results, or you can just keep the results to yourself. Those are 2 different options you could have. Some ideas for using polling. Discussion starting points. Where do we want to start? Where do we want to start discussion? Do we want to start by talking about the budget, or do we want to start talking about, our fundraiser that we're throwing, right? Do we want to take votes on different things? Like, should we do this thing? Yes or no? Knowledge checks, like how, similarly as you could do in the chat, it might just be a different way of doing it and allow you for more granular survey data. It also does show you graphs of where people vote. So that's helpful to visualize it for yourself. Use it as icebreakers, just as a fun, close or break, or coming into a meeting. Temperature checks, or of course, selecting order of agenda. I do see a question in the chat. It is now under surveys in the web portal. Yes, that is correct. Under surveys, you can also get to polls and quizzes because they haven't fully migrated it yet. But yeah, that is how you get to it. So thank you, Karen. Let me stop sharing here and show you some examples. So first, our practice is going to be discussion starters. For today's purposes, we will not type into the chat if we don't want to. I'm just going to show you the examples of those, of what those would look like. So let me share screen. So right here, you can see this is a preview of the polls that I had for y'all. I had a few questions. So you could, the first question allows you to rank your order. What would you like to discuss first? The CDC's private Beyonce concert, the offsite retreat to Cancun, or the new partnership with NASA, right? So then you could click, okay, first I want to talk about Beyonce, and then I want to talk about NASA, and then I want to talk about Cancun. And so this itself could just be a poll, this one question, but you can now add multiple questions, and some can be required and some don't have to be. Similarly, the single choice, do you consider yourself a dog, cat, or bird person? Multiple choice, select 3 cake flavors I should serve at my wedding, right? I am doing this, so that is the correct answer for me. And then you could answer, say today is let's say it's a rainy day. You could type that in right here. And then how likely are you to add Zoom in the next week, or use Zoom in the next week? This is that rating scale where you can also on the back end determine what 0 means, what 10 means. If you want it to go to 5, if you want it to go to 7, you can do those options there. So let me see if I can get out of the preview and show you what it would look like on the back end. I think it's just here. Yeah, so here you would just go in to the back end on the web portal, or you could do it directly from a Zoom meeting. and create a new survey or poll up here. You can do survey. This would be also, you can use it asynchronously. So you could send out a survey link that would connect to your poll that happens both during the meeting and beyond or before the meeting. Poll or quiz would just happen like directly during a meeting or a webinar. Yes, I know CDC Beyonce concert would be amazing. Thank you, Becky. You know. So yeah, you can just create that here. So the difference is that survey can be done asynchronously. Poll or quiz needs to happen during the actual meeting. So through this, you could go in and you could create, you would choose your different things, and you could, toggle it as required. You can like type in your question here, your choices here, and then you can add as many or as few questions as you would like. The rank order does get a little confusing. If we remember the Beyonce example, this column was first, second, third, and then the rows were the different choices. But yeah, they have a lot that you can use. You can also reuse quizzes. So if I save it, here's the link. This was a survey, so I could send this to folks, or I could give a QR code if I wanted it to go beyond the meeting. But then I could just pop this up in the meeting. You can also see the results over here through the web portal or through your actual meeting when you click on the polls and quizzes button there. So I think polls and quizzes are a great way to get sort of better ideas of where your team is at, to get ideas of where to start, or just have some quick little icebreakers. I think they're super fun. So I personally would use it as a discussion starter to figure out, where, if it was unanimously selected that we wanted to talk about the Beyonce CDC concert, then that is where we would start most of our meeting for the day, right? Reshuffling your agenda around that can be helpful. Now, this is where I'm going to ask you to really, really engage with me here with annotation. I think this is underrated, underused. Annotation and whiteboards, which we're about to cover, go hand in hand, and I think they are incredible tools. So if you've never used annotation before, you can click annotate in meeting controls. If you are the presenter, for me, I have this little buddy right there. I think you also have that underneath screen sharing. So you click down and you click annotate. I'm going to turn on annotation for everyone. Then you click your tool. You can't see it right now, but I have options to click mouse to just click around normally, select, text, draw. You can put in different stamps, right? Like this, got hearts everywhere. I can do a spotlight. Oh, that one you have to use separate permissions for, or you can erase things. If I'm like, oh, I actually don't want to put that there. You can change the color of your various stamps in your drawing. You can do different shapes. So you can, pop in a square if you want to. Annotation, I think, is really helpful. And then it's also very helpful because then at the end of the meeting, you can save all of the slide that you've been annotating as a PNG or as a PDF so that you can reference it later. You can also clear all of the drawings. You can clear just your drawings. You can clear viewers' drawings. So if you're like, okay, well, I want to show you what I was annotating, but you didn't want anyone else to, you can clear those really easily. So ways that you could use this, I'm going to clear all drawings. As an attendee, you would go up to screen sharing, and right beside screen sharing, there should be some like meeting options. And if you click that drop down, annotate should show up. Oh, I'm trying to close out of my chat. Okay, I see people are drawing, so hopefully folks have gotten there. If not, it's okay. Just click around until you find it. Just look for the little, yes, perfect. Everyone is drawing. Amazing. You can draw, you can type in text. So this, as you can see, I can currently see who is typing what. So that's helpful. You can also anonymize that. I don't really know how to anonymize that, but I will find that out. But yeah, you can type things in, you can delete. Yes, everyone is annotating, so this is great. Thank you. Okay, under view options, not screen sharing. Okay, thank you, Wendy. That is very helpful. Yeah, view options, and then it should show up under as annotate or annotation. So right now, this is beautiful. Everyone just keep annotating. This is great practice. This is also a great point to illustrate that you need to know your audience, right? I know that most of you are taking this during the lunch day or during your lunch break or during the work day. So I know you're sitting at your computer. But if you have folks that may be calling in from a phone, then this might be a little more difficult for them. Some ideas, obviously icebreakers. I think it's helpful for choices or menus. You can see where people can like physically vote on things. People can leave notes or impressions. If I pulled up like a graph and I said, okay, like where should we start discussion? And people are like, that's interesting. Flagging things for discussion, group edits. If you have like a document and you like people are saying like, okay, wait, I have thoughts about this slide, or I have thoughts about this opening paragraph or whatever. That could be helpful. And of course, temperature checks. I think all of these are very useful to do. Okay. A green icon in the lower right corner when you move your mouse. So what I'm seeing, I'm sorry, Ray, that this is frustrating. It's at the top of the screen where you sort of see, or the lower left corner, depending on your screen. It's sort of where you would see like Baily Betik is sharing screen. That is where that would mainly be. So you can click around over there. It depends on your screen layout. So you can hover at the top of your screen. Is this annotation functionality available in any of the other platforms like Teams or Skype? I'm not sure. This is a Zoom workshop, so I don't know about Teams or Skype and their annotation abilities, but can tell you that this is obviously used in Zoom. So sorry, Nicole, I don't know the specifics of that. Ray, I see your drawing, so yay, we found it. Very happy. Love that y'all have gone above and beyond in your artistic capabilities. I am unfortunately going to clear our drawings right now so we can move on to our actual practice. So goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, beautiful dog that Ray is drawing in the corner. We will miss you, but we could just save it. I'll just save a PNG real quick so that we have that memorialized, and I will send it to you after the chat. But as you can see, all I have to do is click delete and everything is gone. Oh, except for my own. That's weird. It should be everyone, clear all drawings. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to move on to our next example. Don't worry, we're still going to annotate. So I want you to use the annotate function to tell me what is a book you think that everyone should read. You can type it in, practice using the text. You can draw it out if you want to. Just the next couple seconds, just type in a book you think everyone should read. And if you haven't practiced using the text functionality yet, when you are annotating, finding that annotation control, there should be a toolbar that pops up. For me, it pops up in the left-hand part of my screen. Not sure where this would go, but you can find it over there. Becky has also done a great thing by just typing in the chat. It's a great example of giving folks multiple ways to do this. If they can't figure out annotation, if they can't figure out, how to use the text feature, putting it in the chat is also, or if they are just on their phone and they can't figure out how to annotate from their phone, then you can do that and just have people have multiple ways of expressing. And you can move your text box around. You can grab it by clicking select and moving it around. I'm moving where the sidewalk ends right now. I can move remarkably bright creatures. Let me move out heavy by Keithy Lehman out so we can see it. So yeah, you can see that all of these are movable and other people can annotate them as well. So that is one example. I will save this as well in case anyone needs to add to their reading list. But I'm going to clear these drawings and we're going to do one more just as an example of how to use the drawing feature. This will be very fun, very quick, but if you haven't drawn yet, I want you to either use the stamps You'll see it as a little check mark, or the pencil, which appears as a little pencil. It's draw. I want you to flag where things might be different on either of these. I see the little check marks. If you click the check mark, you can also see that you can click star or question mark or heart, any of those. Very helpful. Another way to, y'all are so good. Y'all are so fast at this. It literally is taken from my children's book, but that's okay. Another way that I've seen this used really well is, asking folks to show, like in a first meeting, saying like, oh, what department do you come from? And showing like a map of, the organizational chart, or saying where you fall on like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram. I've seen people also use it for where they are in the world, right? Like, where are you zooming in from? That can be really helpful, especially for like a getting to know you situation. But I've also seen this used where we say, okay, check mark means that we do not need to, you don't see that we need any edits. Question mark means that you have questions about this part of the slide or this part of the document. X means that we should cut this or revisit it or move it somewhere else. And then you can really annotate there as well. You can see that, oops, I just put a check mark. I'm trying to find the mouse. You can see that this person has outlined the building. I see people have circled things. This is all really, really helpful because then you can, figure out where you need to put your attention in terms of group editing or addressing different topics while giving folks a way to interact with you instead of just looking at the screen, right? This gives a little more engagement. So great. I think we've maybe solved it. I don't know. I'm looking at my the different buildings, but I think we are at a point where we can move along from that. So thank you for playing this fun little game with me for right now. And we are going to move on to one of my other favorite features of Zoom. Instead of annotation, we're going to move on to whiteboards. Whiteboards, I would just love for, yes, devil's advocate. Yes, you could devil's advocate for different things. I would love for you to just in the chat or in your reactions. So if you don't know how to use reactions, it's in your toolbar and it should just be reactions. And you can do a thumbs up or a crying and laughing or a surprise or a check or an X. Love for you to just, or any other reaction that you'd like. React if you have used or react or put in the chat yes or no if you have used Zoom whiteboards before. I just want to get a sort of temperature check of if folks have used this. So you can put it in the chat. You can do your reactions. Let me look at my participants. I'm seeing some sad faces, some thumbs up, thumbs down, some X's. Yeah, okay. In the chat, I'm seeing no. Lisa says yes all the time. Love that, Lisa. Oh, I see an agony face. So sad. Don't worry, you will have the opportunity to use it. Ray says yes. Okay, so a lot of no's, some yeses. So glad that there are some yeses. Let me also turn off annotation. I think I can stop annotation for folks. I don't know how to do that. We're still annotating, so I need to figure out how to not annotate. Okay, I thought I had paused annotation, so I don't know why it was continuing. But so I will show you, let me move my participant screen. Okay, whiteboards are really helpful because it gives you a space to annotate on, but it gives you a little bit more power and a little bit more like movability. It's a larger screen, so if you need more space, you can zoom in, zoom out. How to use whiteboards, you click whiteboard in meeting controls, or you click new share, and you can share whiteboard from there. And then you click share. You can also copy the link and drop it in the chat for Zoom, for your Zoom meeting participants to access. You can, when you're sharing the whiteboard, this will pop up. It will give you the opportunity to copy the link and tell you different permissions. So you can check up or down. You do usually have to be a registered Zoom user for this. So all of you are on your Zoom accounts, as I can see all of you. So this shouldn't be a problem, but I'm going to go ahead and share a whiteboard. I'm going to click whiteboard. This is a new whiteboard, so I don't really want to use that one. I actually would like to share, see, and I can see everyone's gotten on the whiteboard, so that's helpful. But I'm actually going to share with you an existing whiteboard that I have pre-made. So I'm going to open this board. We are all going to be collaborating. Hopefully this is here. I see a couple of you are already on it, but in case people need to reference it later or aren't able to just automatically hop on it, I'm going to drop that link in the chat. I will show you how to save what's on the whiteboard in a second, Pat. But I am asking you, where should I go on vacation next? Help me list the pros and cons. I want you can see where I have Argentina, Japan, and Hawaii. I just want you to list pros and cons. See, I think Ray has already added Nepal. He's like, I don't like your options. Yep, someone's added Puerto Rico. We're adding new options, right? So we can zoom in, we can zoom out. Down here, zoom out. I can see people have a little more space if we need it. I can move the screen. Let me move my text box. I can say, okay, wait, I want to mini map this. Like this is all the available space I have. This is where we're currently working. So we have a lot of ways we can add a new page to it if we need to. As you can see on the screen, yeah, people can just type as much as they want. I'm going to zoom right in. Right. Okay, let me move over. Need to grab my moving. I'll zoom out. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm just move using the scroll bars. That's how I use it. And then zoom in, scroll over. Ghana. I would love to go to Ghana. I just came back from South Africa, so very much a fan. We need to go back to Africa soon. Oh, yep. Hawaii has beautiful beaches, but it's expensive, but it is English speaking. Yep. I see a thumbs up. Yeah, you can add your own sticky notes. You can see over here in the toolbar, there are different colors of sticky notes. You can add a comment. Karen is typing in the chat. Perfect. See, yet another way of saying that people don't all need to actually use the whiteboard if they don't have access to it or can't figure it out. That's totally okay. You can add different frames to people or frames to things. So if we say, actually, we're going to come up with, a website and put up just like, this is the frame, this is how much space we have, you can restrict that. Similarly, you can use different templates. So if you click over in templates, they have stuff like, here is, our weekly schedule. Here, I'm going to launch this. We're going to use this template. I can integrate this, and then you can help me fill out my schedule for when I go to, let's say we're going to Argentina. When I go to Argentina, right? Maybe this is when I land in Argentina, and then we can plan everything in one space or have a lot of different things in one space. You can have different folks. You can say, okay, Pamela, Wendy, and Becky, y'all are all going to be working on the schedule. And then Ray and Nicole, y'all are going to be working on the pros and cons list, right? You can really delegate to people, have them work on different things at different times, and have them respond to different things. You can also anonymize it. I think you can do that through the web panel. I don't think you can use it through here, but they have a tons of different things where you can, mind map things. You can embed content that you already have. So if you have like, here's a picture of our flyer, you can embed that content and import that and upload it, and then put it here and say, okay, what do we need to change? What do we need to tweak? I work in web design, obviously. And so I oftentimes will put up a mock-up for my clients to look at it and say, okay, what needs to change? Where do we need to update things and move from there? So in terms of saving your whiteboard, it automatically saves. So you can see up at the top, I don't know if you can see this, where it says Baily Betik's personal meeting room, and there's a little cloud icon and as a check mark for me as the host to save it. I can also click, there's a little hamburger menu that goes to export, and you can export it as a PDF, a PNG. If you are doing you could even on a whiteboard, if you're doing a chart, you could even save it as a CSV file, and people could just manually enter like Excel values essentially, right? So I am going to export this as we have it as a PNG. so that we have that and we can view that. We can also zoom in, zoom out, different ways to export that. It's already automatically saved as people are adding things. We'll have a version history as well in the web portal. So I'm going to stop sharing for now. Hopefully that was a helpful whiteboard. Oh, nice. Someone is going on tour soon to Japan. That is very cool. Wow. I would love to know more about that. I want to make sure I'm conscious of time and give you time for questions. So I am just going to go back to our presentation. Ways you could use whiteboards: brainstorming, group editing, planning things, status checks of saying like, okay, making one of those Kanban boards of saying, here are all the projects we have going. People just rapidly give me an update in this whiteboard and people can fill it all out at the same time. Then you can go down the list and say, okay, for the Beyonce concert, we don't have the venue booked yet. We don't have her transportation booked. We got to figure this out, right? So that you can really project plan and manage that there. Breakout rooms, I'm not going to put you into breakout rooms, but I just wanted to tell you how to do it. You just click breakout rooms if you're the host. You can choose the number of rooms. You can choose assignment methods. So it can be, you can pre-assign it if they're all registered Zoom members. If people are logging in a guest account, that's a little more difficult to do. You can randomly assign, just like based off, like say you want 4 people in one group, right? Or you can manually assign. You can also have folks opt into assigning, which is really helpful if you're saying, okay, these people want to organize Beyonce's set list. These people want to organize Beyonce's airport pickup. These people want to organize Beyonce's craft services and dining, right? And so putting different projects in different rooms, or having different ways that people can, sort of float around. Some ways I've seen this are jigsawing, which is an education term for when we have a big task at hand and we want different people to go talk about different things and bring it all together and share out. That's been really helpful. Again, that's sort of like the Beyonce example of having those 3 different rooms, then come back and say, here's the report that we just figured out in these 15 minutes on where we're at with transportation and dining services, right? Group worksheets. An example, I'm just going to send this to you in the chat. You can use it if you want. I don't know if that's really helpful to you, but I thought it was a pretty okay example of using Google Sheets to use in breakout rooms, right? So having different worksheets and having different groups. So then giving you editing access and being able to go in. I'll send that link in the chat as well as this. But yeah, so you can look at that, but essentially just, using a worksheet or a reflection activity, or like even Google Slides, I find is really helpful if you need to come up with, if you're putting together a presentation and people haven't, need to work on different parts of it, different slides, that's helpful. Or if you want to do editing that way, right? Put it up here, put some people and say, you're going to edit this first page, you're going to look at the second page, you're going to look at this third page, and then come back. Discussion groups about different things. Speed networking can be really fun, or as icebreakers, right? Putting people in a room with just like a quick prompt. And then as I talked about, those opt-in breakout rooms, like, do you want to talk about movies? Do you want to talk about music? Do you want to talk about TV? Like, right, having them choose, well, I actually want to talk about TV, not music, and opting in that way. So let me share one more time the slideshow, because I was just sharing the Zoom skills worksheet. Some tools for interaction. Google Suite obviously is very helpful. Poll Everywhere is something that Emory has a license to. I'm not sure about the CDC, but it's essentially another polling software. It gives a little more granular of data, but not too different from now the Zoom update. So I think the Zoom update honestly works just as well as Poll Everywhere. Kahoot is fun if you want to gamify it, if you have competitive folks on your team, because it's timed and it's very like trivia game themed, but you can create that. And of course, Canva, if you didn't see my Canva workshop, you can go back and look at that one, but you can use whiteboards there, as well as different worksheets there to create that, or create graphics and then put them in your whiteboard on Zoom. So, I know that we are running up against the clock. We have about 3 minutes for questions. Would love to have given you more time. I'm sorry. I think we just got so carried away by the annotation and whiteboard games. We're so excited about that. That, of course, you can always email me if you have questions, but I'm happy to take them now. If you have any questions for me specifically, you can email me at bbetik@emory.edu. Otherwise, if you have questions about what the center does, or if you want to come tour our podcast studio, or talk to us about video capabilities or that kind of thing, ecds@emory.edu puts you in touch with any of our experts. We have people who specialize in data cleaning and data analytics, as well as people who specialize in GIS maps and creating data visualization. So very happy to help you in any way that we can. How would I use Google Suite for interaction? Pamela asks. So Google Suite, things like Google Sheets, Google Docs, like the example worksheet I just shared. You could share it out in your breakout rooms, or you could share it on the screen and have it saved there, right? But I have personally used it, Google Slides and Google Sheets and Google Docs, as something where, okay, one group is going to work on slides 1 through 5. One group is going to work on slides 5 through 10. And then you can sort of see it in real time, and have folks drop in there. Yeah, any other questions? The Google Suite was a good question. So thank you, Pamela, for that. Any other things I can help with? I don't know how to turn off annotate, which is fine by me because Ray, you're very good at drawing. So you just keep drawing on things and I love that. But I need to figure out how to turn off annotate for my own purposes. Because some people on my team are not artists, but no, I love it. Any other questions, y'all, before I let you go and get back to your day?
Hey Bailey, this is Daniel. I just wanted to, on behalf of CDC EAEA, thank you again so much for all of your insights for the past 3 sessions. It's been really phenomenal to hear from you and learn from you, and so we're really grateful for you taking the time to educate us. And for everybody else, don't forget our May 2nd Public Health Science Writing Tips and Tricks webinar on I said May 2nd at noon. Yeah, so yeah, look forward to seeing y'all then. And yeah, if there are no more questions, Bailey, again, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you all for sticking with the crazy things I asked you to do today. And yeah, holler if you have any questions. I'm happy to talk later offline. All right. Bye, y'all. Thanks
Bye.
again.